హాయ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ టు అంస్కా ఎస్టేట్స్ ప్రాపర్టీ సీకర్స్కి స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం. ఈరోజు ఈ వీడియో ద్వారా హైదరాబాద్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సమ్మిట్ 2025 28 జనవరి HICC నోవాటెల్లో జరిగిన ప్రోగ్రామ్ గురించి ఈ వీడియో ద్వారా చూసేద్దాం. ఇది వి ప్రౌడ్ ఆఫ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ సమ్మిట్. సో ఐ హ్యావ్ అటెండెడ్ దిస్ సెషన్ అండ్ రికార్డెడ్ ఫ్యూ వీడియోస్. Please watch this video till the end and few suggestions that way the government has given more information in summit. Please watch this video till the end. Heartily welcome to property seekers in Hyderabad. Welcome to Amska Estates. Build your property by trust. This is Ravikiran Brahmadevara. Please save my number 9848181757. గత 40 సంవత్సరాలలో సంపద విలువ పెరిగిన తీరు తీసుకుంటే ఫిక్స్డ్ డిపాజిట్స్, FD, బంగారం, వెండి, సిల్వర్, గోల్డ్, భూమి, ల్యాండ్ మీద రేటు 500 టైమ్స్ పెరిగింది, అంటే 500 రెట్లు పెరిగింది. భూమిపై పెట్టుబడి, తరతరాల రాబడి. త్వరగా ఆలోచించండి, మంచి నిర్ణయం తీసుకోండి. మీ పిల్లల బంగారు భవిష్యత్తుకు ఆర్థిక భరోసా ఇవ్వండి. నిర్ణయం మనదే, అంటే మీదే అండి. మరి ఇంకెందుకు ఆలస్యం చేయకుండా ఆ వీడియో చూసేద్దామా? అంటే ఆ సమ్మిట్లో ఏం జరిగిందో విశేషాలు అన్ని ప్రోగ్రామ్ మార్నింగ్ టు ఈవినింగ్ అండి. ఇదేనండి మన NICC హోటల్ నోవాటెల్ అండి. ఇది నేను ఫేస్ జస్ట్ క్యాప్చర్ అంస్కా ఎస్టేట్స్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్. సో మెనీ ప్రౌడ్ ఆఫ్ మెనీ మినిస్టర్స్ ఆర్ అటెండెడ్ దిస్ సెషన్. సో ఇలాంటి సెషన్ రాజ్ న్యూస్ వాళ్ళు, నెక్స్ట్ NAREDCO వాళ్ళు, గవర్నమెంట్ ప్రోత్సాహం వల్ల ఇది HRA హైదరాబాద్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ అసోసియేషన్ టీం ప్రోత్సాహం వల్ల ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అనేది కండక్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. ఇలాంటి మరిన్ని ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఈ ఇయర్లీ క్వార్టర్లీ ఒకటి జరగాలని ఆశిస్తూ కోరుకుంటున్నానండి. ఈ వీడియో చివరి వరకు స్కిప్ చేయకుండా చూడండి. సో మెనీ థింగ్స్ will be discussed here. ప్లీజ్ వాచ్ దిస్ వీడియో.
ఈ హైదరాబాద్ మట్టిని, భూమిని నమ్ముకున్న వారు ఎప్పుడూ ప్రాస్పరస్ గానే ఉంటారు, ముఖ్యంగా రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ ఏజెంట్స్. ఎందుకంటే వారి హైదరాబాద్ నగర అభివృద్ధికి, గవర్నమెంట్కి వారు బ్రాండ్ అంబాసిడర్స్. మీరు ఒక ప్రాపర్టీ అమ్మేటప్పుడు ఏం చెప్తారు? ఈ పక్కన RRR వస్తుంది, ఎయిర్పోర్ట్కి ఇంత దగ్గరలో ఉంది, కనెక్టివిటీ ఇది, సెక్యూరిటీ ఇది అని మన గవర్నమెంట్ ఇనిషియేటివ్స్, ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ అన్నింటినీ కూడా మీరు డెవలప్ చేస్తూ గవర్నమెంట్కి అంబాసిడర్స్గా ఉంటున్న రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ ఏజెంట్స్ మీరందరికీ హ్యాట్స్ ఆఫ్. ఒకసారి గట్టిగా చప్పట్లు కొట్టండి. యూఆర్ ఆల్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ ఏజెంట్స్ ఆర్ వండర్ఫుల్ సిటిజన్స్ ఆఫ్ ద హూ ఆర్ థింకింగ్ అబౌట్ ద బెటర్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ద సొసైటీ.
सबसे ज्यादा केपेबल है रियल एस्टेट में. 47 सिटीज, मल्टीपल स्टेट्स, मल्टीपल एसोसिएशंस, डाउन टू द लास्ट tier 2, tier 3 सिटीज. तो हमारा ब्रोकर और NAR इंडिया is capable of giving the best market research reports which every government official, IPCs, builders, everybody can use. सो इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. इवेंट्स, एक्सपोज, ट्रेनिंग्स, ये सब बहुत ज़रूरी है. और एडवोकेटिंग पॉलिसी चेंजेस, जो गवर्नमेंट के साथ पॉलिसीज है, चाहे वो GST रैशनलाइजेशन हो, चाहे वो वन नेशन वन लाइसेंस की डिमांड हो, चाहे बाकी चीज़ें ब्रोकर्स के बिहाफ पे, रियल एस्टेट फ्रेटर्निटी के बिहाफ पे हमको रिप्रेजेंट करनी है.
ఏ నగరానికి లేని విధంగా హైదరాబాద్ విస్తరణ జరుగుతోంది. నగరం ఏ వైపుకు చూసినా అభివృద్ధి పరవళ్లు తొక్కుతోంది. హైదరాబాద్ విశ్వ నగరంగా భాసిల్లుతోంది. దేశంలోని మరే నగరానికి లేని అడ్వాంటేజ్ భాగ్యనగరానికి. దేశంలో రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ మార్కెట్కు హైదరాబాద్ ఒక ఐకాన్గా నిలుస్తోంది. ఒక్క మాటలో చెప్పాలంటే హైదరాబాద్ ఇప్పుడు ఒక అభివృద్ధి నమూనా. ఐటీతో పాటుగా ప్రపంచ స్థాయి మౌలిక సదుపాయాలతో ప్రజల జీవనం కొత్త పుంతలు తొక్కుతోంది. అదే సమయంలో వేగవంతమైన విస్తరణతో సవాళ్లు ఎదురవుతున్నాయి. అందుబాటులో ఉన్న వెంచర్ల కొనుగోలు శక్తి, మౌలిక సదుపాయాల కల్పనకు ఒత్తిడి, సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి ఎన్నో ప్రశ్నలను రేకెత్తిస్తోంది. ఇలాంటి తరుణంలో ఎన్నో ప్రశ్నలకు సమాధానాలు ఇచ్చేందుకు హైదరాబాద్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సమ్మిట్ 2025 మన ముందుకొచ్చింది.
legislature of Telangana and also received the assent of the Honorable Governor very recently, and we are in the process of notifying the date from which it will come into force. Can I have the presentation? Yeah. So, to give you a brief background to it, this new act of Bharathi is basically brought in by the government of Telangana in order to streamline the land administration system and land records and ensure that the digitization of land records is proper and smooth and helps not just the landowners and people who are interested in buying and holding the land, but also the real estate sector in general. It signifies a very crucial shift in digitization of land governance. We had this Dharni Act in the past which came in 2020, but there were a lot of problems in terms of, one, the structure of the act itself, and also in terms of the process which was followed in digitization of land records, which resulted in a lot of issues which we have been trying to resolve. But with the introduction of the new Bharathi Act, we expect that those issues and those problems will be done away with, because we have now got the experience of almost 4.5 years of the implementation of Dharni. Now, it has basically three broad components. One is strengthening of administration, two is leveraging technology, and third is the legal backing. Only if all these three components come together, you have an efficient land record management system. To give you a brief background of the little bit of history of land records and the record of rights in land, we've had three acts in the state of Telangana, or the Telangana region of the erstwhile state of Andhra Pradesh, the United State of Andhra Pradesh. The first one was in 1948, after India became independent and Hyderabad state was merged with the Indian Union. We had this first act which came in 1948. That was one of the first acts, not just in this state but also anywhere in the country, and it really resulted in a lot of, I would say, formalization of land records. Many of you who've actually experienced the land records in Telangana, you would know of this 1954-55 Khasara Pani. Now that Khasara Pani was an outcome of the 1948 Act, and till today that Khasara Pani is almost the entry in Khasara Pani is deemed to be a title based on many of the judgments of Honorable Supreme Court. That is, it is as close to title as possible if the entry is there in Khasara Pani, and you can then understand the significance of the Khasara Pani. And then it was followed by 3 years land records, which was called Se Sala Pani. Many people misunderstand the word Se as Che Sala, but it is not Che Sala, it is Hindi Che. It is Se Sala, which is Persian Se. Se in Persian means 3. So that's a Se Sala means a 3-year Pahani. That's why we had this 55 to 58 Pahani, 59 to 61 Pahani, and then it was followed by an annual Pahani. So that's how it all began. Then we had a very wonderful act, which was the Patadar Passbook and Titling Act, Title Deed Act, which was 1971. And that was, I would say, a very major effort in ensuring systematization of land records, because that time we had two regions. One is the Andhra region and the Telangana region, and we tried to bring in the best of the two regions and have this. And one of the major contribution of that was to introduce the Patadar Passbook. So those of you who own land or who have transacted in land, you would see that most of the farmers will have this white cover Patadar Passbook and also a title deed. So that was actually under that 1971 Act, and it was so strong that it stood nearly 50 years before 2020, the RE Act was brought in. Now the aim of the RE Act was to introduce technology into land record management. But then there were some very fundamental issues with that. I will give you some of those details which are now being corrected by the Bharathi Act. And also the implementation of that happened in a way that the software which was used for Dharni was not properly tested, and then it became like an exercise of updating it as the problems arise. And that's why we've seen so many issues relating to the implementation of Dharni at the ground level. Now, a lot of hard work has gone into the preparation of Bharathi Act. The reason I'm telling you is just to make you familiar with a little bit background before we come into the features of this act. And to make this act, not just the 3 past attempts of ROR in the state were also taken into account, but we also looked at nearly 19 other states' ROR acts. So we try to bring in the best of what is there in other states and all given gist of the problems. Now, Section 5 basically deals with all the sale related or gift related aspects of land transfer. That is, you sell the land or you gift the land or you partition or you mortgage or you exchange. When that is happening, there is already an entry in the land record in favor of the landowner. So the landowner goes to the sub-registrar, which is the Tehsildar as of under this act, and there is also a possibility that Deputy Tehsildar can also be given that power, because sometimes Tehsildar is not there in the office. And then when the landowner, that is the seller, and the buyer, they go, the transaction happens through the Aadhaar authentication of both the seller and the buyer, and the instantaneous transfer of that land takes place from one account to the other, and instantaneous mutation and passbook generation happens. So that happens under Section 5. The second section which is there is Section 7, which deals with the succession related issues. In fact, one of the major shortcomings of the Dharni Act was that there is no provision for any verification of whether all the legal heirs have come or not. So in fact, I have personally come across a few cases where, let's say, the landowner dies and he or she had 5 legal heirs. Now only 3 will come with the inter se family settlement deed. Ignoring the 2 others, they don't even tell that they are going to get this mutated. Just 3 will come to the sub-registrar, that is the Tehsildar, and get that mutated in favor of the 3. Now later on, when the 2 other people come to know, they really have no recourse to that, and that is the beginning of a dispute in that land transfer. And more often than not, those 3 people will actually sell that land or transfer in the name of a third party also within a matter of a day or 2, and the buyer would not even know that there were 2 other people who were left out. So that was one of the major lacunas, because the Act didn't provide any sort of a verification. Now under this new Act, there is going to be a verification mechanism which will ensure that all the legal heirs are actually covered, and then only that succession happens. Succession also, we have also given provision for other things also, which are again absent in the previous Act, which is will or whether registered will or unregistered will, and also other mechanisms through which that can happen. So that's one of the major improvements. Then the third section relating to this is Section 8. Now this is a huge improvement compared to the Dharni Act, because the Dharni Act only provided for only through a court decree a mutation could happen. But there are multiple other ways in which mutation can happen, which could be, let's say, an ORC which is issued, or a 3080 certificate which is issued, or a 13B, 3080 under the Tenancy Act, or 13B under that regularization of Sada Bainama, or a sales certificate which is issued by some authority, let's say an NCLT has sold the land, or some other entity has sold the land, or even when government has actually also alienated the land in favor of, let's say, a company or an entity or an individual. There is no, it's really surprising, but there was no real provision under the Dharni Act to do that kind of mutation. It was all left to an executive circular to do that. And many times that used to be challenged in the court, and the court used to question that since you don't have a legal authority, how are you doing it? Now this act brings all those possible mechanisms for such transfer under the ambit of Section 8, and that will be done at the level of RDO. In fact, in the previous avatar, that is Dharni, all those changes were actually coming up to the level of collector because of the system and the circular on the basis of which this was done. So now we'll be to the next competent authority. Like if that in a summary way, those problems can be dealt with rather than a very, very lengthy and a formal process of a civil code, because many of these issues actually can be addressed through revenue department based appeal mechanism, and this is what this act also tries to bring in. There is also a revision mechanism if there is some land of wherein government interest is involved and that is actually transferred illegally or unauthorizedly, then the CCLA will have power for revision to correct that. Now there are a lot of futuristic provisions also which are there in the Act. As I mentioned, this Act has been prepared by looking at all the other state acts, our previous 3 acts, the implementation of Dharni, and also in which direction the land record management system is actually heading. So there is something called Bhudar, which is now being talked about in the country, which is like every person is having an Aadhaar number. Every land parcel will also have a Bhudar number. So that if you just enter that, like the Aadhaar number, we use it. Similarly, if you enter that unique number, you actually get all the details, the location, survey number, village, mandal, district, state, that information can be done. So you can just kind of communicate with that single Bhudar ID. Now, again, this act provides for a legal background backing for that. And there's a provision for a temporary Bhudar, which is a unique ID which will be given. And there's also a provision for permanent Bhudar, which is going to be based on the geo coordinates of the land. And that will ensure that there is a unique land correlation, which parcel it is and which ID it is. Another very important factor is that while doing registration, the Act provides for a survey or a subdivision map to be attached to the registration document. Now this is something which is being done in our neighboring state of Karnataka for quite some time. In fact, if I remember correctly, Karnataka is doing it from almost like 2008-9 under their Bhumi project. So what has happened is, in last 15-16 years, because a subdivision or a survey map is attached to the registration document, their land records have been, the spatial land records have also been improved, so much so that today nearly 90 to 95% of their land record is now having a proper authenticated latest map. Whereas we have a lot of issue because in our state somehow historically subdivisions has not happened. Our subdivisions have happened only in the register but not in the map. And this will ensure that there is a continuation of that subdivision process as and when the land is transacted. Again, the last point which I mentioned there is again something which is very, very futuristic, and in fact we are one of the first states in the country to talk about this. is the record of rights in non-agricultural land and also Gram Kantam and Abadi land. And the Act provides a provision for it. Of course, it will come into the force from which government feels that the system is ready to implement it. But there is a legal now provision in the Act itself to do that. And this will ensure that even non-agricultural lands also, there is some element of ROR which happens. Now, the reason why it is very important is that historically, non-agricultural lands were not under the purview of the ROR. And the reason for that is, if you look at the history of land records, we started from a time when the land record system was more about collection of land revenue from the land. Because at that time the income tax or no present GST or sales tax was not a very important component of government income. Most of the income used to come from land. So the state, that is the government, was very much interested only in from whom do you collect the land revenue. So if you see, the most of the records are basically a record of assessment of land revenue. It has not traditionally been a record of rights or the title. And that's why we've kind of missed the maintenance of non-agricultural land record historically, not just in our state but in most of the states of the country also. And this is something now which is provided under that. Land record with the village account on the 12th of October, till about under the ROR Act of 2020 level, we have got some 10,000. Transition has been very smooth.
Hyderabad and Hyderabad, what potential do you see?
Brand Hyderabad, all of us know what a beautiful city we live in. It's amongst the best cities, not only in India but also in the world. And this is validated by several international agencies. All of us have heard that Mercer has said that Hyderabad is the most livable city in India for the 6th consecutive time. So right from 2017, Hyderabad has been voted as the most livable city in the country. Also, Sevils has said that Hyderabad is one of the 15 fastest growing cities in the world. They have surveyed about 230 cities across the world, and Hyderabad happens to be one of the 15 fastest growing cities in the world. The third validation has come from Oxford Economics. Oxford Economics has said that Hyderabad will be the 4th fastest growing city by 2035, with a city $1 trillion, and by 2047, size of just the Indian real estate is going to be about $5 trillion. So we have great potential in real estate, more so in large cities, and more particularly so in Hyderabad. And when we talk about the way assets, of course, last 2 months there's a little negativity about Hyderabad. Let me conclude by telling you, every asset class is cyclical. Whether you take gold, whether you take stock markets, stock exchanges, or real estate, every asset class is cyclical. There will be highs and lows. No asset class will always be on a high. Hyderabad had a great bull run right from 2016 right up to end of 2023. Of course, thanks to 2 successive elections and a little bit of confusion about Hydra, things softened a little bit. This is a very short-term story. In the long term, Hyderabad is a great story to invest in. And I've been studying a little bit about the up cycles and the down cycles. 100 years ago, an up cycle was 5 years and a down cycle was also 5 years. But last couple of decades, the up cycle is a lot longer than a down cycle. If you look at a boom period in asset classes, in stock markets or real estate or anywhere else, the up cycle is about 5 to 7 years and the down cycle is only less than a couple of years. So obviously an up cycle and a down cycle is based on market expectations and also about consumer sentiment. Right now the consumer sentiment is low, but we in the industry have no doubt that in a few months the consumer sentiment is going to change and the upcycle and the boom is going to hit Hyderabad. And one last, as far as the affordability is concerned, everybody talks about Hyderabad being very expensive. Let me tell you, a research done by moneycontrol.com has said among the southern states, Hyderabad is the cheapest with an average square foot price of about 7,900 rupees, whereas Chennai has 8,750 rupees per square foot, and Bangalore is the highest at 9,300 rupees per square foot. With the cities with such fabulous infrastructure, I think we are amongst the most affordable and the cheapest cities, not only in the south but also in India.
He has covered the entire gamut. But still, I'll give you my perspective as a realtor. Realtor ante real estate lo unna vallandaru realtor anukuntaru, adi kaadu. Basically, realtors are facilitators. They are the bridge between the buyers, the investors, and the developers and builders. So what we do is that we take up projects from developers and builders like Chandra and the NAREDCO association, and we have a circle of influence. We have our contacts here, we have clients, and we talk about these projects in our circle, and we actually educate them which project is good. This is the role of a realtor. And as the president of HRA, what you see the gathering here, I want to appreciate each and every member of HRA. Give a big shout to HRA members. You will be surprised to know getting people interested to listen to someone is very, very difficult. Will you agree? Yes? 20-25 years back, it has become an IT hub. And slowly, there is so much of investment coming up that the pharmaceutical companies have become real estate companies now. Will you agree? And one of them, and thanks to MSN Realty, MSN is basically a pharmaceutical company. Huge turnover, big company. Everyone is a part of real estate. Let me put it this way, directly or indirectly, real estate is related to at least or catering to at least 250 sectors. 250 sectors, we cannot have a blind eye. We cannot say that real estate was not doing well today, it will not do well tomorrow. We have a lot of confusion regarding real estate. And this particular event was designed to give you clarity because of the confusion that we have. I'll also give you a couple of stats. And this is something I'd like to say, some things that we cannot see. The remittances that actually come to any country, and especially to India, last year was $130 billion. And AP and Telangana share is only 5%. That translates to around 41,000 crores. Most of this money goes into real estate, 70 to 80%. And if we talk about last year, there was a lull in the market. That means people have the money, they have access, but they are just not wanting to put the money into any of the projects. I can assure you one thing, next couple of weeks, possibly months, the way the government is also supporting and coming out with the kind of programs, you have heard Mr. Naveen Mittal trying to organize and support the industry with the right infrastructure and software, we are definitely going to see a new high in real estate in Hyderabad. This is what I have wanted to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. I think energy levels have gone. We are waiting for lunch. So let's say once. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
1:1000. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, I thank the organizers for inviting me here. So there is a general talk. I keep listening very frequently that the market is down, market is down. Then all the sub-register offices have to be closed. All the sub-register offices have to be closed. All the builders have to close. The market is not there. Then somebody is talking about HRA effect. HRA is, you assume that all the plants, all the properties are FTL or buffer zone. No, so basically how we perceive it. Last 10 years, if you see the growth rate of real estate has been in TRS government, 10 rupees has become 100 rupees, 100 rupees has become 1000 rupees. Do you agree on that? But outside the city, it's something different. So real estate, I always tell, it's a roti, kapda, makan, part of the three dialects. So without residents or properties, nobody can survive. Everybody will have, because something tikala. నిరాశ పొందకూడదు, ఎవరు కొనుక్కోలేదు. సో దేర్ ఇస్ బడ్జెట్ ప్రకారం మీకు ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళినా మీకు 10,000 గజం, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 దాని బట్టి ప్లేసెస్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోండి. హైదరాబాద్ ఇస్ బెస్ట్ పాయింట్ ఈస్ ఆల్ 4 డైరెక్షన్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గ్రోయింగ్. దెర్ ఈస్ సమ్ సార్ట్ ఆఫ్ డిస్టర్బెన్సెస్ ఇన్ ది ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ గవర్నమెంట్ డిసిషన్ బికాస్ వెన్ ఎవర్ ఎలక్షన్ హ్యాపెన్స్ 3 నెలల ముందు 3 నెలల తర్వాత disturbance will happen because there will be no liquidity movement. For our thing and AP comparison, AP get elected one time, Assembly and Lok Sabha. But in Hyderabad we have Assembly different, Lok Sabha different. So these differences and new government to settle first time, Revanth Reddy as CM, he himself is a realtor and he has done dealings across the Hyderabad 10, 15, 20 years back. So there is a settlement time, there is a teething problem. It has taken few months, I think 8 to 9 months. It was not completely damal or down. It's slightly slowed down, mandagichinది. So if you see from November, market talk is what we see, the analysis is from November 2nd, 3rd week, the enquiries leads have gone up, the site visits are happening. I keep talking more than almost 50-60 builders on a weekly basis. I take the analysis. So people have to see the reality. How I do the analysis is we go to SR offices, sub-register offices, see how much. Day before yesterday I went to Khammam. There is no SCSR all. Not only Khammam, Sangar, any register office you see. People say there is no business, but registration offices are all busy. People say there is no money, all malls, all multiplexes are full. Hyderabad is one of the best market according to me as per the last 30 years I have been into the field. I have worked in Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai. If you see in Poise Garden, Banjara and Jubilees in Hyderabad, Poise Garden and Boats Club in Chennai, you know what is the rate? One ground is 20-30 crores. Is it possible? One ground is 267 square yards. In our case, where are we? If you go to Bangalore, you cannot even touch. You go to Mumbai, it's already gone. It's only 100, 200, 300 crores. You have seen latest deals happening. So what my perception is, people need not worry. They should invest in real estate.